So now that the year has come to a close, I thought I would do a quick little recap of just some thoughts on the year and I guess some things that need to be addressed in the off season. Overall, I think the last couple of years have shown how much different and faster the racing is getting, and that's at all distances, not just the shorter course. Every kind of Olympic cycle, when you have some of the guys that are coming off Olympics that start to jump up to 70.3, the swim especially gets one step faster, I've noticed. But this one, definitely the last couple of years, everything has just gotten faster. Obviously some technology stuff has been a part of that, but it's just also becoming a little bit more talented as well. And so looking back at the year, did I accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish? Absolutely not. Am I satisfied with the year? Absolutely. I didn't have my best days possible at the World Championships at any of the three, but I moved forward and didn't fall on my face like I have in the past, so those were good things. I proved to myself as much as anything else that I can perform in the heat, in the wind. I'd been struggling with that since I got heat stroke in 2016, so made a lot of changes and spent a lot of time emphasizing performing in the heat just in time for Kona to not be in Kona, but that's a different story. Three top 15 finishes in the World Championships, and first at North American Ironman Championships, second at 70.3 North American Championships. It's nothing to scoff at. I feel like there was a couple races in there that were a little bit of a missed opportunity, where I made some mistakes, and then there was a couple races in there where the front was just better. Going into a fairly extended off season. I raced a lot in 2022, and that was a little bit by design, but I definitely added a few races that weren't on the calendar throughout the year. But now it's time to really go back and focus on closing the gaps. My swim was coming along really well at the beginning of the year, and then the end of the year, that kind of let me down. So I definitely need to get back and focus on, that first 500, because, I've got the ability, if I'm in the group, to stay in the group after things, after that first, dogfight for the first 500. But, it was kind of hit or miss if I would execute at the beginning. And so I've got to keep on working on that. That's obviously step one. That changes the course of my day. It makes it from being in the mix the entire day rather than getting off and chasing. And, the reality of it is the front of the race aren't just swim runners anymore. They're also biking really darn well. And so, it's just getting harder and harder to close that gap on the front group if you're not there. And where 3 or 4 years ago that wasn't the case. So I've got to really focus on the first 5 minutes of the race, and then the first 10 minutes of the bike I have to get back and start preparing in a different way to manage that section as well. Look at a race like Chattanooga. I came out of the water with the group, or just behind the group, and it took me 90 minutes to catch back up into the group, and the group never split up. It just took me, or 60 minutes to get back there, and that was riding, so if I can manage a little bit harder in that first 10 minutes, then I can get there and be there and back off once I get there, so definitely a number of things to work on. I've chatted with Julie about prioritizing and blocking out, what we want to do and when. We're still, the off season is still pretty fresh. It won't be by the time you watch this, but it's still pretty fresh right now. So haven't gone too deep into the plans, but we're both on the same page with what needs to be accomplished. And now it's just kind of mapping it out. And then making sure we have adequate time to try to address those things before I get back into the full swing of racing for 2023. And there's a few races that I'm definitely keying off of, but the reality is until they tell us where the World Championship is going to be, it's hard to set your schedule. The PTO dates are tentative still, but we think we know where those will be and when. But so I can't really release a full schedule until quite a few things get shorn up on that front. But I'm looking forward to the year. I'm looking forward to an off season and getting back to work. I've raced basically every 3-4 weeks for the last couple months. So. Now it's time to let the body recover, let the mind recover a little bit. I'm physically and mentally tired, and then get back to work and try to do what I can do to close the gap to the front of the race. Yeah, one thing that I'm a little bit puzzled on this year is I seem to peak on my second Ironman of each build. So I've really got to figure out what needs to be done to get back to peaking at the one that I want to peak for, like the World Championships in May and the World Championships in October. They went fine. I had fine performances, but they weren't the standout performances that I really wanted. And then I bridged the fitness into Ironman Des Moines on the first build, and I had a pretty good performance there overall, like by far the best bike I've put together. And the run was going great until it wasn't in the last 10K, but that's another story. And then Arizona was, the same. It was a much better performance for me. It wasn't a perfect performance, but it was a much better performance overall than, I had in Kona. And I've got to figure out, why that happened and what I can do differently. And maybe it's tapering different or not. I don't know. We're definitely working on addressing that, and trying to go back to the drawing board and see what needs to change. I think the thing I was most proud of for the year is winning another North American Championships. Anytime you can win a race, it's hard to come by, but being one of the few people that have won more than 2, and now I'm at 4, that was a nice little, I guess, feather in the cap. That's probably was the highlight of the season. I didn't, have a ton of, low point races. I finished in the money for every race that I did. Well, obviously the PTO paid everybody for those 2, and that didn't really go well. But so there wasn't like a race that I left and I was just like completely upset or just like questioning everything, and that's certainly happened in the past and usually at Kona. So to leave pretty much every race feeling like, that maybe wasn't my best day, or what maybe wasn't the best I could have done, but all isn't lost, and I'm not a terrible, that I still feeling like there's, especially in the Ironman distance or the full distance, that I have a shot to get what I want to get still. So, that was a positive from the year as well. I would, if I had to do something differently, I would have definitely not got hit by a car. Maybe been a little bit more forgiving coming out of COVID. I didn't respect how much of a toll that was going to have on the body, and I think that cost me a month of training. I don't know that I would have recovered any better, but that was a really frustrating time because I felt fine, but I couldn't do anything in training. And there was a good month where, one thing I've always been really good at is when Coach Matt or Coach Julie give me a workout, I execute it really well. And it's very rare that they give me something that I just can't do. And there was a month where I don't know that I hit a single workout on the bike. And so going back, I would have maybe just thrown out the numbers for that block of time and not tried to force things so much, because I don't think that had too much of a toll physically, but it definitely did mentally, and it was a very frustrating time. But yeah, that would probably be the biggest couple things to change. To get to where I want to get to, there's definitely things that I have to clean up, and there's definitely, but I think that's possible. Like, I've had really good swims, I just don't do it consistently. So I need to get back there. I've had, good rides, I've had good runs. I just need to put, if I know that if I put the best day that I've had, swim, bike, run, in the World Championships, that I can be in the mix. And having 2 World Championships this year where I had decent days and had a decent overall, that just shows that, okay, if I have my best day, I can get what I want. It's going to take me having my best day, and I know that. It's just figuring out how to make that best day show up when it matters the most. Obviously, couldn't do what I'm able to do without all the support of sponsors, family, and coaches. So obviously a huge thank you to them for a great year, and appreciate all of you for tuning in. And if you're new, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button on your way out. Hopefully we can keep this channel going into 2023. So stay tuned for what that schedule is going to look like if people ever release their schedules for the year.